Ready, sir.
ॐ गणानां त्वा गणपतिं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पतान् शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनं श्रीमहागणाधिपतये नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। Om. Dear friends, we are in the shloka number 70, that is apuriyamana majala pratishtham samudram apah pravishanti yadvat tadvat kamaha yam pravishanti sarve sa shanti mapnoti na kama kami. We are there. So where a sthita prajna or a person whose mind is settled in Brahman, so that man is sthita prajna. So that gentleman, he is compared to an ocean. Just as an ocean is getting continuously filled by rivers, waters of various rivers, similarly, and then the samudra or the ocean, it remains unchanged. There is no change in it. Either it doesn't rise or it doesn't go low, or the sea, so-called sea level, is very settled. So similarly, a sthita prajna, a person whose mind is composed and then who is settled in Brahman, he is not reacted, he does not react to anything which comes into him. Because of his prarabdha karma, he doesn't go and seek objects. But then because of his prarabdha karma, there may be certain things which are coming to him, but then he doesn't get perturbed, he doesn't get annoyed, he doesn't get internally disturbed because of various things which come to him. And we also saw the examples of people like Lord Krishna himself, King Janaka, Rama, and various other Rajarshis, the saintly kings whom we find in our say both history and also in Puranas. So these are the examples given. So there we are in that middle of the Bhashyam. We were just reading one line. Ichha visheshaha yam purusham samudramiva apaha avikurvantaha pravishanti. Samudramiva apaha avikurvantaha pravishanti. All these desires, they just flow into him just like waters flow into an ocean. And then which cannot cause any sort of turbulence, which cannot cause any change in the appearance of the sea. So that is what we saw. That is what we are. And then we were reading this line, Sarve atmanyeva praliyante na swatma vasham kurvanti. So that is where we stopped. Praliyante, I just wanted to explain that word because this word praliya, laya, pralaya, praliya, pralina, so these are things which we can slightly notice. Laya, we know this word laya. Laya is used even in music. So there is a laya in that music where different things they merge and then they appear as one. That is a laya. Lina. So a man who is listening to music or seeing some program, he gets totally absorbed in that. So we say that he is Leena. He is Leena Mayunadu. The fellow is totally absorbed in that. So where his individuality has disappeared, his personality has disappeared, and he is totally merged with that, whatever he is seeing. So that is what is Leena. Laya. Then Pralaya. Pra is only an upasarga. Laya is something. Pra is basically is an upasarga which enhances the dhatu's meaning. Pralaya is prakarshena layaha. So totally submerged, so totally dissolved into something. You are seeing you are listening to some Tyagaraja Gana or something like that. So there you are so totally absorbed. So that is a sort of pralaya, a sort of, let us say, figuratively let us say it is a sort of pralaya. So in fact this pralaya is one word which is used in two different senses in our books. One is the Puranika pralaya. So in Puranas you find, so in different Puranas there is a different, the description of pralaya may be slightly different. But the concept of pralaya is there. Srushti, Sthiti and Laya, these three words we know. So from that unmanifest, the so-called Avyakruta or Maya, then this entire, say the three, components, that is Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra, the so-called three components, they emerge, and then this Srushti or creation is said to be the power of Brahman. Sustenance of this universe is said to be the power of Vishnu, and then this dissolution, and then the so-called recycling. Only one dissolution takes place, again Srushti comes. So this dissolution is said, that power that is said to be the power of Rudra. So this Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra, we have given names. These three powers, these three things which are taking place in the universe, this Srushti, that is creation, sustenance, and then dissolution. For these three things, we have given the names Brahma, Vishnu, and Rudra. So this Laya is something which is there described in our Puranas. It is there described in the Puranas as some huge deluge. Sometimes it comes in the form of a huge deluge where all these, they say, these worlds disappear, and then there is a totally new creation which takes place. There are two types of deluge there also. There is what is called this Brahma, the creator, he goes to sleep. So we also, in our Sankalpa, also day-to-day Sankalpa, we tell Adya Brahmana Dvitiya Parardhe Shveta Varaha Kalpe, something like that during your Sandhya Vandana, that is the daily prayer. You also say, is it okay? Sound is okay. You say Adya Brahmana Dvitiya Parardhe. So this Lord Brahma, this creator Brahma, not this absolute Brahman. Absolute Brahman has no manifestation, no creation or anything. So this creator Brahma, who is different from that absolute Brahman. So this creator Brahma, he has got a life period. Similarly, when he has got a life period, he also has some day and night. So whatever is day for Brahman is this Srushti. And then when he sleeps, then that is called a Pralaya. There is no Srushti which takes place. Then ultimately this Brahma also goes old, and then he also gets dissolved. So that is supposed to be another bigger Pralaya, Mahapralaya. Then that is in the context of Purana. In Puranas, we talk about the Srushti coming, and then Srushti it sustains for some time. So there is a world order when that sustenance, and then when that universe say goes on, and then all human transaction takes place. Then there is a so-called world order. There is a dharma. There are certain rules and regulations to guide people who are there in that Srushti. So all that thing is there at a very, very transactional level. So that is one type of Pralaya. Then the second meaning, that is in Vedanta. Vedantins talk about a different type of Pralaya. So we have been talking about withdrawal of senses, Indriya Nigraha and whatnot, and looking inwards, and then examining one's own self. At first we see that our own, the idea of self is, oh, I am a human body. I am this body. This is my idea of self, the physical body. Then if you slightly probe further, okay, a man will say, no, not merely the physical body, this prana shakti which is there, the vital force which is there, so that is the life. Then again, the first level is what is technically called Annamaya Kosha. The second level, that prana, is called Pranamaya Kosha. Technically in Taittiriya Upanishad, they call it Pranamaya Kosha. Then if you slightly probe further, or is it true? Really, are you that? Really, are you that Pranamaya Kosha? Just probe further. Then again he goes back, thinks, and then he comes back and says, no, there is a mind, there are senses, I am able to see things. If there is no mind, there is no me, there is no question of identity, there is no question of aham and whatnot. So that Manomaya Kosha. Then again Vijnanamaya Kosha, where that sense of I, all that comes. Then Anandamaya Kosha, that Sushupti Avastha, all these things, and beyond that is that Maya. So then beyond that is that the so-called Brahman, not so-called, that is that Brahma Nirvanam, that is that Brahma, the state of being Brahman, where that Ananda, a temporary Ananda which is there in Sushupti, by self-realization, this man attains that stage, and he is in that stage permanently. So that is called Brahma Nirvana. So this thing of this process of rejecting one by one, rejecting the body, that rejecting the body is the first level. Rejecting the prana level is the second level. In fact, in Taittiriya, that is called a pravilapa. So pravilapa means one merging into the other, one merging into the other. So like that. So this pranamaya kosha, this annamaya kosha, you reject it. Then secondly, you reject pranamaya kosha also. Then again, thirdly, you reject this manomaya kosha. Then again, you reject this vijnanamaya kosha. So they merge one into the other, one into the other. So like that, that is the process of laya. Laya means merging of one into the other. So that is called laya. So that pralaya, this pralaya where this Atmajnani say rejects all his the attributes which have been attributed to him and then remains in Brahman. So that state is called pralaya. You follow? Yes. Some meaning is So this pralaya actually is the state of Atmajnana. So the person who attains Atmajnana, he is no longer considering himself as the body. He is no longer considering himself as the vital force, that prana which is in him. He no longer considers himself as the mind and indriyas. So he has gone above these things, and then he no longer considers himself with that sense of ego and whatnot. Even that ego disappears, and then he remains in that state of Brahman. So that is called a pralaya. This is called Atyantika Pralaya. There is a technical word also for that. There is an Atyantika Pralaya which is as a result of self-realization. The other Pralaya is called Prakritika Pralaya. It is related to Prakriti. Prakriti means this universe, the worlds say they are created, the worlds disappear. So that is a sort of physical Pralaya which is described for the consumption, let us say, for the consumption of ordinary people. All those things are described. Basically to see that these people, they follow some order in society. So if there is some story that there is some dissolution, there is some dissolution of this entire universe, then again only some people who do some good deeds, they come and then they take rebirth in a good form. So when there is some reward and punishment, some promise of reward and punishment, people do behave well in society. So for the consumption of these people, some Purana has given some story. So, but then the meaning of pralaya in Vedanta is different. The meaning of pralaya is when you reject the whole world, you have voluntarily withdrawn and you have rejected the whole world and you see everything as Brahman. Rejected in the sense not that you are in a state of rejection, also can mean a state of duality, where you feel, okay, I am something different, the world is something different. So that is again a state of duality. So this Jnani is not in that state of duality. Jnani is in that state of oneness only. There is no question of duality in a Jnani. So in that manner, the world automatically gets dissolved. So that is dissolution. Not that he rejects voluntarily and then keeps it away and then keeps himself shut in some ashram or something like that. It is not like that. When you say that I am rejecting the world, you are in a state of duality. No, but here he is not rejecting. The world automatically gets dissolved. The world automatically gets dissolved because he is in that state of Brahma awareness. So he is in that state and then he sees everything as Brahman. So that is what is called pralaya. So here he is we can take that meaning also. Atmanyeva praliyante. All these things, external objects, they are dissolved. They are dissolved in him, in the sense that he does not see them as something different from them. There is no question of something which he is desiring from outside. Only when he desires something from outside, then he sees a duality. He is not seeing anything different. So these so-called wishes, so all these things, these kamas, that is desires, so they get dissolved in him. Is it okay? So that is the meaning of pralaya. Atmanyeva praliyante na swatma vasham kurvanti. So up to that point we read. Na swatma vasham kurvanti. So these desires, they don't enslave a person. Swatma vasham. Swa plus atma vasham. Atma vasham kurvanti means they enslave. Na kurvanti means they cannot enslave. These desires, they cannot enslave a person. They just simply get dissolved. All these things, vishayas, or the so-called sense objects, let us say, not desires but sense objects. All these sense objects which come to him as a result of his prarabdha karma phalam, as a result of prarabdha karma we know, as a result of the karma which has started giving some fruit to you. So that you cannot stop. Prarabdha karma is something like an arrow which has been shot and it is already there in the air. The moment you are born, that prarabdha karma is there. The moment you are born, you have to see that you have to bear this body till this body at some time falls off. So it is like that. Prarabdha karma is like that. Mukteshu iva. Mukta ishu means that is an arrow which has been shot. You release an arrow and then that arrow is in the air. We do not know where it goes. It may go through some trees, it may go through some rocky surface, it may go fall on a rocky surface, it will stop somewhere. So like that, in the prarabdha karma it has to go on. So because of this prarabdha karma, certain things befall this jnani also, and then those sense objects which befall him, they get dissolved in him because he is a jnani, he does not see anything different. And he does not get perturbed by them, he does not get disturbed by them. So that is the meaning. Na swatma vasham kurvanti, that means they do not or they cannot control him, they cannot take possession of him, they cannot enslave him. Then next, let us read. Sa shantim moksham prapnoti na itaraha kamakami kamyante iti kamaha vishayaha tan kamayitum shilam yasya sa kamakami naiva prapnoti ityarthaha. So sashantim adhigachyati. You see this line. Sashantim apnoti na kamakami. So for the word shanti, usually we translate it as Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We translate it as Om Peace Peace Peace. So Shanti, the meaning given by Shankaracharya is moksham. Moksham is a state where you get Shanti. Otherwise there is no Shanti. Moksha is release. Munch, it comes from a root called munch. Munch, the meaning of munch is to release. So moksha is release. A release from all types of bonds, all types of say shackles in which you are. Some time ago I was telling about what one gentleman, one Rousseau has told. A man is born free but everywhere he is bound in chains. It is a very famous statement by one French writer named Rousseau. So a man is bound in so many chains. You feel that you are a father, you are a husband, you are this, that, you are a student, you are doing this, you are doing that, you are doing a job and whatnot. So all these they bind a man, and moksha is something which is a release from all these things. Not that you become economically free, economically independent and whatnot. You become mentally free. You become mentally free, and then these things they become meaningless. They become meaningless at a particular time, and then once for a jnani, when he sees Brahman in everything, there is no question of these bonds existing. So that is the state of peace, that is the state of moksha. Moksha means realization, that is not realization, release. Once that release is there is happiness, there is freedom. Moksha actually means a sort of freedom from all types of mental bonds which are binding a human being. Moksham prapnoti na itaraha kamakami. Kamakami means one who desires. Kamas is a kamakami, a desirer of desires, a bundle of desires. That's what we read. Kamyante iti kamaha. Kamyante, those which are desired, those which are sought after. Kamyante means those which are sought after. You go after them. You seek after them. So those which are sought after are called kamaha. So kamaha vishayaha. Vishayaha means sense objects. Sense objects. Tan kamayitum shilam yasya sa kamakami. A person who by nature, who by tendency has a desire for this object, that object. One day he wants to go to this place, another day he wants to go to another place, he wants this one day, he wants another thing another day. So he is a kamakami. He is full of desires. He is never satiated. So that is a kamakami. So such a man, he cannot have that shanti, because he is always finding a want. What is kama actually? Kama or desire. You want an object. You want an object only when you feel that you are not happy without that. When you are yourself happy without anything, then where is the need for a vishaya? You want something, and unless I have it, I will not have happiness. So if you are in that stage, a kamakami, if such a man who is a bundle of desires, whose desires cannot be satiated, how can he be happy? He always wants it. Then again, say that thing becomes old, and then you have to discard it. So all these things, all these laws of economics, they operate on him. So this law of diminishing returns, etc., they operate on him, and then he keeps on desiring new and new things. So that is the picture. Yasya sa kamakami naiva prapnoti. Naiva, it is such an emphatic no. Naiva means na eva. Na eva is naiva. So naiva is an emphatic no. This man, a kamakami, a bundle of desires, he cannot attain freedom. He cannot attain moksha. He cannot attain peace. So that is the meaning here. Then Sheelam means character. Sheelam actually nature, let us say. Here we don't refer to the character of a person. That is the tendency. Kamaitum Sheelam, the tendency to desire. Not a character. We don't refer to the character of a person. He is a person of such Sheelaha. Such Sheelaha means he is a person of good character. Dushsheelaha, he is a person of bad character. Not in that sense, but Kamaitum Sheelam means a person who has a tendency, who has a nature. His nature is like that. So that is it. The next shloka, the Yasmadevam tasmat.
Yasmadevam tasmat.
Yasmadevam tasmat is a common expression. Yasmadevam tasmat means because of this. Yasmat, because it is so. Tasmat, therefore. Because it is like this, therefore. Then next shloka. Vihaya kaman yas sarvan.
Vihaya kaman yas sarvan.
Pumanscharati nispruhaha.
Pumanscharati nispruhaha.
Nirmamo nirahankaraha.
Nirmamo nirahankaraha.
Sa shantimadhigacchati.
Sa shantimadhigacchati.
Okay, here again it is a say more for more emphasis. He is repeating whatever has been told. Not Shankaracharya, Sage Vyasa. Sage Vyasa is the narrator of this whole thing. Sage Vyasa, or let us say Lord Krishna, because the Sage Vyasa is a writer, Sri Krishna is a character. So whatever the character is saying is, that is, we have to attribute it to the character. So Lord Krishna is again repeating. And if you see the tone of this shloka, the man who gives up all these desires and then he conducts himself like that, so he, nirmamaha, he should not have anything with us, that sense of mind, that sense of ownership and sense of I, nirahankaraha. So that man will be peaceful. So it means, it is actually, the tone of the shloka is referring to two people. It is also referring to a kurta krutyaha. A kurta krutya, that is a sthita prajna who has already attained that state. It is also referring to people like you and me who are in that path. It is also referring to a jignasu. Because in the very beginning we saw sarvatra hi vedanta shastre krutarthasya lakshanani yani tanyeva sadhanani. It is one famous statement which we have to remember. Krutarthasya lakshanani yani tanyeva sadhanani, which means those which are characteristics of already an attained person. Kruta krutya is a siddha purusha. Already he has attained. He has already attained his objective. He is a man who is a realized person. He is a krutakrutya. Krutakrutya means he is already a realized person. He has nothing further to do. Krutarthasya lakshanani yani means those which are the characteristics of a realized person. Those characteristics have to be sedulously, consciously cultivated by a seeker. So that is the meaning. Krutarthasya lakshanani yani tanyeva sadhanani. The same lakshanani becomes sadhanani. In the case of a realized person, they are his characteristics or attributes. In the case of a sadhaka, they are things which he has to cultivate. So that is what we saw. So this shloka, actually the tone of this shloka, it implies that it is in that manner. So this shloka, the meaning is like this: Vihaya kaman yas sarvan pumanscharati nispruhaha. Okay, let us break this. Yaha means vihaya kaman yaha. Yaha means the person who. Yaha means the person who. Kaman sarvan vihaya. That is having given up all desires. Vihaya means having given up. That is called a lep pratyaya. That is, you have already done something. So that particular state is called a lep pratyaya. Vihaya. That is, you have already given up. Kaman sarvan yaha vihaya nispruhaha charati. Nispruhaha. Spruha is attachment. Like what we saw in the earlier shloka, the things keep coming because of his prarabdha karma. You are born a king like Janaka, Lord Rama or Krishna, then various things come to you. But then you conduct yourself through all those motions. You conduct yourself through all that drill, all that motion of Raja, being a king or whatever it is, without being attached to that, without desiring them, consciously desiring them. So that is called nispruha. In Telugu, the meaning of spruha is different. What is spruha? Spruha means one who just wakes up. Suppose somebody, he suddenly receives an injury and then becomes unconscious. So that is when we say he has lost his spruha. Then when he wakes up suddenly, then after some treatment, he wakes up, he comes into consciousness. Coming back to consciousness, we call spruha in Telugu, but it is a wrong meaning, because many words which are there in Sanskrit, they have undergone some meaning of change of meaning in Indian languages. That is natural. In any language, in any process, in any in the development of any language, you borrow words from various different languages, and while borrowing, there can be a slight change of meaning. Not always. There can be some slight change of meaning now and then. That is called a semantic change. In language, they call it semantic change, where the word undergoes some meaning. either over a period of time, in the same language over a period of time it undergoes a meaning, a change in meaning, or when it goes to some other different language, that language it gives a different meaning. So Telugu, let us forget for some time. In Sanskrit it means spruha means desire. Spruhayati, he desires. So spruha means we should forget our Telugu meaning of spruha. Nispruha is somebody who has no desire. So these Vishayas are sense objects which come to him because of his prarabdha. He takes them as a nispruha. That is one adjective which is given. The second line gives two more adjectives. Nirmamaha, nirahankaraha. Nirmama is another adjective. Nirmama. What is mama? Mama. Aham. Aham pratyaya. Aham, avam, vayam. If you go like that, this aham shabda, Shashti Ekavachanam is mama. Mine. This is mine. This book is mine. This pen is mine. This aham. Or mama shariraha. I am my body. Something else, mama patni, mama putraha, this is mine, mama dhanam. So like that, this is my money, my wife, my son, etc. This is mama. So nirmamaha. So this jnani is one who does not entertain that feeling of mama. In fact, mama is one beautiful thing. There is one shloka which I am not readily recalling. Nirmama is a state of happiness. Namama, sorry, not nirmama, namama. It is not mine, it is a state of happiness. Mama, it is a state of unhappiness. There is one very interesting shloka, I am not readily recalling. Mama is mine. So that sense or that state in which you are, so that does not give you happiness. Namama. Namameti moksha, na mama. When you say it is not mine. So that is why when you do this dhanam also, say you do namama, so and so it is given, namama, it is not mine. So which means you do not have any desire. So that is it. Sampradate namama. Sampradate means it is being given, pradhanam, sampradate. That is, it is being given by me, namama. It is not mine. So that is a sense of relinquishing. It is in the sense of renouncing. So namama iti moksha. So like that, nirmamaha, nirahankaraha. Ahankara also we have seen several times. The ahankara does not mean arrogance. In Vedanta, ahankara does not mean arrogance. In the normal parlance, ahankara can mean, depending on the context, it means arrogance. Feeling that say one is very great and whatnot. In Vedanta, when we are referring the feeling of I, that is called ahankara. Aham plus kru dhatu. Ahankara means the perception that I exist. I. So I means you are distinguishing yourself, you are separating yourself from that prajnana ghana, that huge mass of consciousness, that huge ocean of consciousness. You are isolating yourself. You are isolating yourself from that ocean of consciousness by calling yourself as something different. A wave suddenly feels, no, I am a wave. So after all, this stupid wave is nothing but ocean. So this wave does not think that it is ocean, but then wave thinks, no, I. So like that, ahankara, that is what is called ahankara, that is isolating oneself from this eternal, oneness. From that oneness or from that mass of consciousness, you are isolating yourself. So nirahankara. So these three adjectives are there. A person who gives up all kamas, he moves nispruha, without attachment, nirmamaha, without any sense of mine, aham mama, nirahankaraha. Nirahankara means this aham is not there, mama is not there. Aham, mama, these two things are not there, and then he moves without attachment. Sa shantim adhigacchati. So that man, he gets shanti. Adhigacchati means obtains. So the words here are also very simple. Vihaya means having abandoned. Kaman yaha. Kaman vihayaha means the man who. Sarvan. Puman plus charati. Pumanas charati. Puman means a being, a person. Here of course Puman means a male. It not only refers to male, it also refers to all females. Puman, always in any context, when you say a man, it also refers to a woman. Puman charati nispruhaha. Charati means he conducts himself. He moves. But Shankaracharya is giving another additional meaning also we will see. He conducts himself in that manner. What? Nispruha, Nirmama, Nirahankara. So such a man, he attains peace. Let us see Shankaracharya's words. Vihaya parityajya
विहाय परित्यज्य
kaman
कामान्
yaha sannyasi
यः सन्न्यासी
sarvan asheshatah
सर्वान् अशेषतः
kartsniyena
कार्त्स्नेन
charati.
चरति.
Excellent, you have pronounced it correctly. Kartsniyena. Because Kartsniyena is probably the toughest word for a typist. Because there are 4 letters on one letter. This letter is Ya. On that Ya, there are 4 letters. Kartsniyena. Kartsn. Rtsn. This letters like R, T, let us say S, S and N. These 4 letters are there sitting on Ya. Kartsniyena. There is a word called Krutsnam. Krutsnam means the whole, everything. WHOLE, whole, everything. Krutsnam. Krutsnam Jagat, the whole Jagat, the entire Jagat, in the sense of entire or whole. Krutsnam. Kartsniyena is completely, it is an adjectival form. Kartsniyena means, Telugu also it is very difficult to write because there are 4 letters sitting on one letter. Kartsniyena means totally, completely. So a person who completely abandons, so it is in that sense it is used. Vihaya parityajya, that is Vihaya means parityajya, having abandoned, kaman, desires, yaha sannyasi, the person who is a sannyasi, sarvan, not all desires. He should not also hanker for an ashram. Sannyasi does not should not hanker for an ashram. He should not hanker for building a temple, building some sort of chowtri in Tirumala and whatnot. Because we see lot many sannyasis, lot many pitams. What they do is they put so much of pressure on TTD executive officer, and then they try to obtain some land. They raise some donations here and there. They would like to have some big chowtri, some 100-room, say some big accommodation. In 100 room, if not 100 room, some 30 room, 40 room, whatever it is in Tirumala. So in every prestigious place, be it a Kashi or Tirupati or some other place, they would like to take some land and then they would like to. So all these kamas, the real sannyasi is one who will not entertain such kamas. Sarvan asheshatah. Asheshatah means without any remainder. Shesham is a remainder. Shesham, you know. Shesham is a remainder. Asheshatah, there is nothing remaining. Everything is totally wiped off. So that is the picture. So Kartsniyena charati. In fact, this word Kartsniyena, the very difficulty of the word shows that it is totally wiped out. Kartsniyena charati. For this charati, Shankaracharya is giving one meaning. Jivana matra cheshta sheshaha
जीवनमात्र चेष्टा शेषः
paryatati
पर्यटति
ityarthaha.
इत्यर्थः.
Okay. Paryatati. Pari plus atati. Atati. The word root ata means to move. Atati means one who moves. Atati. Not one who moves. Atati means moves. Paryatati. Pari samantat atati. The word parivrajaka. You must have heard Paramahamsa Parivrajaka. You must have heard. Vrajati also means the same. Pariyatati, parivrajati. Pari plus atati is pariyatati. Pari plus vrajati is parivrajati. Parivrajaka means a person who does not stay in a particular place. Because even after relinquishing, even after renouncing, one man may develop some love for Hrishikesh, or another man may develop some love for Haridwar. There a particular ashram where they give some good food, there is some accommodation. So having renounced, you go to some Haridwar, you fall in love with the food there, you like say the company there. There are some Telugu speaking people in Haridwar or Rishikesh or whatever it is, and then there are some friendly people. So there is some chit chat going on. So like that you develop some liking for a place. So a sannyasi is not supposed to sit in a place only because if he sits in a place he will develop some contacts. So of course there are two ways of looking at it. There are two ways of looking at it. A man, in fact we are discussing this subject of a person who sits like an ocean receiving things. At the same time we are also saying that you should also leave all these things. All these things, this is said only because these senses are so strong. Indriyani pramathini haranti prasabham manaha. Even for a knowledgeable man, the senses, the sense objects and indriyas, the senses are so strong that they forcibly hijack a person. That is what we read. So in order to avoid that contingency also, he should be a he should be a parivrajaka. He should be a real parivrajaka. So it is not as though he is not having that mental strength. If he stays here, then say he may get attracted. So even if he stays here, he will not get attracted. So that is the state we are talking of. So we should not look at it from the other point of view, that this man is sitting tight and then totally keeping away from all types of temptations. So what is the great thing in that? So if a man is totally locked out in a room and then he is totally keeping away from all temptations, then what is so great about it? If he is in the midst of all that and still not tempted, then that is something great. So we are talking of that stage. We are talking of that stage in this earlier shloka where Sthita Prajna is compared to an ocean. So now, of course, Pariyatati should not be wrongly understood. He should be positively understood that he is a person who does not want to develop any attachment anywhere, who does not develop attachment anywhere. So he keeps on moving, or maybe in a different sense also. That is basically he is doing for the sake of Loka Sangraha. Because there are always people who are jignasus. So his duty as sannyasi, though he has given up everything, he is also supposed to, there are what are called sannyasi dharmas. He is supposed to move and then he should see that the dharma is properly propagated. A jignasu is somebody who wants to know what is this Atma Tattva. So this man should be able to tell them. So that is his duty also. Not totally abandoning everything, but at least telling the jignasus what should be done. So that is why he pariyatati. Let us take it in that sense. Next line. Nispruhaha sharira jivana matrepi nirgata spruha yasya saha nispruhaha nispruhas san nirmama iti mamatva varjitah sharira jivana matra kshipta parigrahepi mama ityabhinivesha varjitah. Okay, let us stop here. Nispruhaha. Spruha I explained. Spruha does not mean consciousness coming into senses. Spruha means desire. Nispruha is one who has given up desires. Sharira jivana matrepi nirgata spruha. So even he has no desire even to maintain his body well. Even to maintain his sharira, jivana matra also, he is not bothered about it. He is not bothered. As and when it comes, he takes. Because a sannyasi is supposed to live on a bhikshatana. A sannyasi, he should not commit suicide. A sannyasi, simply because he is a realized person, he is not supposed to commit suicide thinking that all this world is stupid and whatnot. He does not say all the world is stupid. He will only say all the world is a mithya. So he will not say all the world is stupid and then it has to be abandoned and whatnot. So he is in that Brahma Bhava. He does not entertain any self-pity. On the other hand, he feels that he is Brahman. He is a person who is not entertaining any type of self-pity. On the other hand, he is in that sense or awareness that he is nothing different from Brahman. And one should know, we should also not say, I am Brahman. If I say I am Brahman, that sense of I is still there. So when a man says I am Brahman, he is not a Brahman. So he stays in that stage. He stays in that situation. So that is the stage where we are seeing here. Sharira jivana matrepi nirgata spruha. Even in that maintenance of the body or maintenance of his daily routine, he needs some food, he needs some shelter. Even for that, he is not having any desire. Yasya saha nispruha san nirmama iti mamatva varjitah. This mamatva, I explained what is mama. Mamatva is the state of having that mama feeling is mamatva. I am having this feeling, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine. So that state or that situation is called mamatva. So mamatva varjitah means one who is not having that mamatva, one who has got over, one who has crossed that stage. Mamatva varjitah. Sharira jivana matra kshipta parigrahepi. So there is what is called parigraha. Parigraha is, there is opposite of dhanam. Dhanam is giving, parigraha is accepting. Sharira jivana matra kshipta parigraha. Even this sannyasi, he is one who has to accept something in order to maintain his body. After all, bhikshatanam, what is bhikshatanam? You go and then bhiksha plus atanam. Pariyatati is the same root, bhiksha plus atanam. Atati is dhatu is there also. Bhiksha plus atanam, bhikshatanam. So what is it that is there in bhikshatanam? He has to go and then he has to seek some food somewhere. Somebody throws some cloth and then he has to tie some cloth for the sake of the world. Not for his own sake, but for the sake of the world, he has to tie a cloth around his waist. So like that, he has to accept certain things. Sharira jivana matra kshipta. Something which has been akshipta is something which is necessitated, let us say. Something which is required. Akshipta is something which is required or necessitated or some compelled or something which has been forced. Because of maintenance of the body, he has to accept something from others in order to maintain his body. So that is jivana matra akshipta. Akshipta means something which is necessitated in order to maintain his body. So even that parigraha, once he gets some, suppose he gets a nice dhoti, he should not develop attachment for that dhoti. Even for that, mama ityabhinivesha varjitaha. Even in that, whatever he gets, he will not have that feeling of mama. Mama iti abhinivesha varjitaha. Abhinivesha is one word which we have seen earlier also. Abhinivesha is an intense attachment. Abhi plus nivesha. Abhinivesha is an intense attachment for anything. So even when he gets something, even when he accepts something, in fact sannyasi is not supposed to take up any parigraha except this bhiksha. Except bhiksha, he is not supposed to accept anything. A sannyasi, he is not supposed to accept money. He is not supposed to touch money actually. He is not supposed to touch money. He is not supposed to take a dwelling or anything like that. So this is actually such a rigorous code of conduct was prescribed for a sannyasi and such a man was called Brahmana. In fact, if you see the way our books or Vedanta or the strict code of discipline, and then you also see, if you just go back and then see our own forefathers and then how they lived and whatnot, you come across some stories. If you ask your grandmother or somebody, so they will tell stories of how simply the people live. And in fact, in one of the lectures, Swami Tattvavidananda has pointed out an interesting thing. For example, Ramana Maharshi is a well-known saint. Ramana Maharshi was unknown for a long time. He was there in that Arunachalam cave. He was in that cave and then he was just doing his own meditation. He was just in his own self and then he was pretty happy, a very happy person. Then this entire world descended on him. Why? That is because one gentleman from Guntur, you know Guntur, there was a very famous, highly gifted poet and a highly gifted sadhaka named Kavyakanta Ganapati Muni. Kavyakanta Ganapati Muni. He was otherwise called Nayana. So this gentleman, some occasion, I do not exactly know, he went and he had an interaction with this Ramana Maharshi and found him to be a great saint. A highly realized person, let us say. Saint may give a different meaning. A highly realized person. So at that time, sitting with him, he started noting down certain things which Ramana Maharshi was saying. So in fact, Ramana Maharshi, whatever he has written, it is because of this Kavyakanta Ganapati Muni. Because Ramana Maharshi was a realized person. He did not have all the poetic abilities and whatnot. So this Kavyakanta Ganapati Muni is the one who brought into light the greatness of Ramana Maharshi. Then once a very eminent scholar brought out these facts, then the whole world knew. And by that time all these people were aware of all this publicity and whatnot. Then some other people, some foreigners, only when some foreigners go to a Swami, then this man becomes recognized. So like that, some eminent, Westerners, they visited him and then they had interaction with him and then they recorded all his, questions and answers and whatnot. So that is how this Ramana Maharshi became strong. And why Tattvavidananda points out this is, there were so many people like that who were forgotten by history, who did not come to light in history, or even if they came to light, they were just locally known to be great saints. In almost every place, in almost every town or a district, you come across some story of some sadhu, some saint like that, who was a highly self-realized person, and then to whom people were going. So like that, they were locally known, and then they were locally revered. And then in history, there are so hundreds and hundreds of such saints who must have existed. So that is what Swami Tattvavidananda points out. So like that, so Sharira Matra, Yatra Matra, even in that, this man does not take parigraha. This Swami Ramana Maharshi was one such. So that is the idea point here. Mama ityabhinivesha varjitaha nirahankaraha
निरहंकारः
vidyavattvadi
विद्यावत्वादि
निमित्त
निमित्त
आत्मसंभावना रहितः इत्यर्थः.
आत्मसंभावनारहितः इत्यर्थः.
Very, it's a beautiful word, Atmasambhavana. You know what is Sambhavana? Sambhavana is when you invite some scholar or a Panditji, and then he comes and then he recites the Veda, he tells this Ghana, Jata and whatnot, and then you give him some Sambhavana. Sambhavana means there's some sort of honorarium which you give to a person. Sambhavana is Sam plus Bhavana, Samyak Bhavana, that is honoring him. Sam is a positive prefix. Sam means good. Bhavana is estimating him as a high man, respecting him as a high man. That is what is Sambhavana. Sambhavana is exalting a person, respecting a person. That is actually Sambhavana. Sambhavana does not mean giving money only. Sambhavana means respecting a person, keeping him in an exalted place. So that is what is called Sambhavana. Atma Sambhavana is when there is nobody else who is exalting you, you yourself get exalted. You follow a particular code of conduct. When somebody comes to you, you don't touch him. Then when somebody offers you water or something, there are people who do not touch any food anywhere. So they say, no, I don't eat anything, I cook my own food. I take my own water. So then that is another thing. And then he shows his supremacy by keeping away from people. He shows his supremacy by not eating somebody else's food. Not by jnana, but by this type of physical, conduct or physical behavior. You come across such people also. They say, the man absolutely knows nothing, but still he maintains such a distance and then keeps up such trimness, and then he appears in all external appearance, he appears to be a great scholar and whatnot. He observes all these things. He will not touch your food, he will not eat in your house. So these are things. So like that, this is Atma Sambhavana. So somebody may positively indulge in some self-praise, positively indulge in, he may say, we also come across some people who telephone to various types of people, and then they invite them, and then those people start praising these people. Once you go to a sabha, once you go to a meeting, at least for sabha maryada, sabha maryada is a good procedure in a meeting. So because of that, you compliment a person, oh, so and so is a great man. So naturally his reputation grows. So something like that. So this Atma Sambhavana is one of the worst sins. That is, praising oneself or exalting oneself either directly or indirectly is one of the worst things which, a thing which has to be consciously avoided. So here, Nirahankaraha Vidyavattvadi Nimitta Atma Sambhavana Rahitaha. So a man may also feel, he may be a real scholar also sometimes. So Shankaracharya is referring to a situation where he may be a real scholar also. He may be a great scholar of Vedas, he may be a great scholar of all Shastras or maybe some other science. And then he feels, I am great. There is nobody who can excel me in this particular Shastra, who can surpass me in this particular Shastra. Even that Ahankara should not be there. This Ahankara is one thing which comes in the way of self-realization. The moment you have Ahankara, then you are isolating yourself from the totality. The moment you say I, you are isolating yourself from that total consciousness. So that is the simple point which you have to remember. The moment you say I, you are isolating yourself. So that is the point. So Nirahankaraha Vidyavattvadi Nimitta Atma Sambhavana Rahitaha. Vidyavattvadi Nimitta means that which is caused by scholarship, that which is caused by his scholastic attainments, let us say. That which is grown out of his scholastic attainments. So he feels, yeah, I am such a great man, I am such a learned man. So even that, even that is to be meticulously and totally eradicated. Then sa evam bhutaha sthita prajnaha brahmavit shantim
शान्तिं
सर्वसंसारदुःखोपरमत्वलक्षणां दुःख उपरमत्वलक्षणां निर्वाणाख्यां अधिगच्छति प्राप्नोति ब्रह्मभूतो भवति इत्यर्थः. Okay, so here Madhusudana Saraswati is pointing out one thing. We have seen this question, Sthita Prajnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya Keshava. So Sthita Prajna, how does he conduct himself? How does he talk? How does he behave? How does he conduct himself in the world? So he says, Kim Vrajayeta Kim, in what manner does he conduct himself? So these shlokas, these 2-3 shlokas, they give the answer for that question. Yes, this is about this Sthita Prajna's behavior in a society. So that is what he is pointing out. Idrusham Vrajanam Sthita Prajnasya iti Chaturtha Prasnasya Uttaram Parisamaktam. He says that question about how he conducts himself, that is answered in these 2-3 shlokas. So, Sa Evam Bhutaha Sthita Prajnaha. Evam Bhutaha means a person of this type. Evam Bhutaha is a person of this type. Who is that? A Sthita Prajna. A person who is settled in Brahman. Brahmavit. Brahmavit is Brahma Janati iti Vetti iti Brahmavit. Vid dhatu. Vid means to know. The dhatu vid means to know. Brahmavit is somebody who knows Brahman. Shantim Sarva Samsara Dukkha Uparamatva Lakshanam. So Shanti, again he is giving the same meaning. Moksha is release, or release from all bondage, release from all types of samsarika bondage, worldly bondage. So he is further explaining it here. Sarva Samsara Dukkha Uparamatva Lakshanam. Sarva Samsara. Samsara, you know, this transmigratory world. Dukkha, Samsara, the moment you attach yourself to that, it gives you some dukkha. That dukkhasya uparama. Uparama means that is where uparati is where it which disappears. That samsara dukkha disappears because of his enlightenment. This samsara dukkha uparati. That uparati also means withdrawal, but here dukkha is not withdrawn. Dukkha actually falls off. Dukkha actually disappears once you attain that self-knowledge. So, Sarva Samsara Dukkha Uparamatva Lakshanam. All this grief relating to the world. That grief only comes when you desire something and when you don't get it. So, when that desire itself is gone, then there is no grief. So, that Samsara Dukkha Uparama takes place. Uparama is that disappearance of grief, let us say. Disappearance of all griefs of this world. Sarva Samsara Dukkha Uparamatva Lakshanam. So, it is characterized by that Shanti of a Sthita Prajna. The peaceful status of a Sthita Prajna is characterized by the disappearance of all types of worldly griefs, let us say. Sarva Dukkhoparamattva Lakshanam Nirvanakhyam Adhigacchati. Nirvana, we have come across this word earlier also. Nirvana, nis is an upasarga. Vanam, it comes from the root dhatu, va. Va means the wind which moves, the breeze which moves, that is called vati. Pavanaha vati. That is, the wind is moving. That is vanam. So nirvana is a sort of a breezeless state where there may be air. In this room, of course, there is air, but there is no breeze, there is no wind as such. There is no wind which is blowing. There is no wind which is blowing. Vati means the wind blowing is called vati. Vanam is that blowing. But here there is no blowing of wind. There may be air, but there is no blowing of wind. So that there is not even a flicker of a lamp. You keep a lamp here, keep a candle here. That candle, it glows brightly without any sort of flicker, without any sort of disturbance. But in a wind, it flickers, and then if the wind is strong, it is put off. The light is put off if the wind is strong. But here it is not so. Nirvana is a state where there is absolutely nothing which is disturbing you. Nothing which is disturbing. Even if you are staying in a tempest, even if you are staying in a storm, even if you are in the middle of all types of attractions and temptations, you are not tempted. So that is the state of nirvana. Nirvana is a state in which you are totally tranquil, still, you are unmoved. So that is that stage. Nirvanam, nirvanakhyam adhigacchati. Nirvana, there is some note given somewhere. Yes, Nilakantha Vyakya, there is one line. निर्गतं वाणं गमनं यस्मिन् प्राप्ये ब्रह्मणि तत् निर्वाणं. This is Nilakantha Vyakya. He says निर्गतं वाणं गमनं यस्मिन् प्राप्ये ब्रह्मणि प्राप्ये तन् निर्वाणं. After attaining Brahman, you have no further movement. Nirgatam Vanam Gamanam. There is no further movement. Once you attain Brahman, means once you are yourself Brahman, then there is no question of seeking anything. 5 minutes? Okay. There is no question of seeking anything from outside. You yourself, the world is in you. That is what it says. The entire world is in you. The entire world, you see it as your own self. When you see that, there is no question of going outside to seek something. There is no question of developing another sense of I. There is no question of isolating yourself and then seeking something. It is only when you isolate yourself you seek something. So there is no question of seeking. So Nirgatam Vanam, that is that Vanam or Gamanam or movement from one to another, one place to another. We also saw in Ishopanishad, Tadejati, Tannaijati, that moves, that does not move and what not. We saw there also. So like that, there is no question of moving from one place to another. So that is what is called Nirvana. There is no question of breeze. So even the lamp does not flicker. It glows brightly, but then it does not flicker. It is not perturbed. It is not disturbed. So that is that state which he attains. Gacchati prapnoti Brahma bhuto bhavati ityartha. Brahma bhutaha bhavati. Brahma bhutaha means he is in that state of Brahma. Brahmaiva, he is also explaining. Again, same Nilakantacharya is explaining. Brahmavit Brahmaiva bhavati. Brahmaiva san Brahmapyeti iti. Brahmaiva san Brahmapyeti. Where is that line? If you do Sandhya Vandan, every day you recite this line. Brahmaiva san Brahmapyeti sa evam Veda. Remember that line? Brahmaiva san Brahmapyeti. So he was already a Brahman. Before he realized this thing, he was already a Brahman, but now that Shastra has told him you are Brahman, and this fellow also had the good sense to listen to that Shastra. He had the good sense to do all that Shravanam, Mananam and Nididhyasanam. So he has ultimately realized that he is the self. So Brahmaivasan Brahma apnoti. He was a Brahman earlier, but he was not realizing it. But now with the intervention of the Shastra, which is a Jnapakam, Shastram is called a Jnapakam. It is not a Karakam, it is something, I think it will come in few, again it will come. Shastram does not create anything new in you. Shastra is not creating anything in you. It is only removing your, say, whatever false perceptions you are having about you, and then it is only showing that you are a particular thing. So Brahmavid, it is only a Jnapakam. Jnapakam is something which reminds you. Something like an alarm clock which gives a reminder. Something like you have your daily, whatever your computer or something, a smartphone, which reminds you of your duties. So like that, this is a reminder. Shastram is a reminder. It is not creating anything new in you. So that is the meaning given by, Nilakantacharya is quoting this thing. Brahmaivasan Brahma apyeti. Time is over?
No, Nirvana Akhyam.
Akhyam means it is told, it is called Nirvana. Nirvana Akhya. Akhya is a name. Akhya actually means name. It is named Nirvana. Nirvana Akhyam means that which is called Nirvana. Subbarao Akhya, well, let us say, he is called Subbarao. Subbarao Akhya atra agacchati. He is coming, Subbarao, so and so, Subbarao is, somebody named Subbarao is coming here. So like that. Mallikarjuna, Madhusudana Akhya. So a person called Madhusudana. So like that. Nirvana Akhyam adhigacchati prapnoti Brahma bhuto bhavati ityartha. This is where the time is over.
1 more minute.
1 more minute. Okay, we have to go to next shloka. We will see in the next class. I thought we could complete this shloka also. Anyway. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.